I am thinking a few of you stayed for item number 4 on the RV parking on Tampa and some of those elements as well, and Rinaldi as well. Okay. So in addressing that, are you guys, should I wait for you to be seated or you can hear me okay? Okay, all right. So I know people are tired and want to get on. This is really important. It's a critical issue that's been actually plaguing communities throughout Los Angeles and throughout my district, where we've got a lot of these RV parking, people literally camping out and living there on our streets, and they're not just in their RVs. We've got a lot of people actually living in their cars. And so we've tried to take a very serious approach to this. And Danny DeValle, who was here earlier from LAP, was going to speak to this. We put a task force together, and we actually went out there with my office and door knocked them to go talk to each one of the individuals and ask them to not congregate if they would. Number one, to move, to find a different location, and we're getting a lot of complaints about the trash and other things. And number two, can we help and provide services for them? These aren't cars parked there. These are people parked there. And I want to remind everybody who's very angry and upset about it that these are human beings with nowhere to go. Now, having said that, that's no place for them either. They need help. They need shelter. And it's not a matter of us not wanting them in our community or not. Now, having said that, they keep moving around. What we've done in the past, and we had a boatload of them, streets full in West Hills. We got a lot of complaints from the West Hills Neighborhood Council. So we put parking signs up, restricted parking, no overnight parking. It got rid of them. No, it didn't get rid of them. They didn't go down the drain. They moved because they have nowhere to go. So they went to another location. And we had another neighborhood council complain. And we put up no overnight parking signs. This has been going on for a few years now. And they moved. And we talked to them, and it's not always the same people, by the way. There are a lot of different people. And they moved, and now they're here. I got really tired of putting up no overnight parking signs, and they simply moved to another part in another community. Now that might satisfy some of you, but it doesn't satisfy me. These are folks that need help. That's number one. Number two, and just in the interest of full disclosure, so you know, my family was homeless once. I've been there. And these are folks that need help. Now, having said that, we've got to deal with this. The other part of that is the courts have recently ruled that we can no longer restrict people from sleeping in their vehicles. We appealed as the city of Los Angeles, and we lost. It's now a right under court law to sleep in your car. So that creates a whole nother burden on society as well. So how are we dealing with, the cars on the street aren't a problem. It's a symptom of a problem. And I want people to really recognize that for what it is for one moment. Because I've gotten a lot of phone calls from a lot of people yelling and angry and pissed off that it's ruining their community. These are human beings that have lost everything. And so I want to think about that for a moment. And it doesn't mean we just let them do whatever they want to do, but it means we have to have some compassion and think about that for a moment as well. And I'm very serious about that. I'm so serious, in fact, I've recently opened the largest homeless shelter in the San Fernando Valley in our district. And I invite all of you to come take a look at it and meet some of these folks. It's in Northridge. You're all coming soon because we have a neighborhood council roundtable. Have you, any of you seen it yet? Okay, so you've seen it. Is it the most amazing facility you've ever seen, or am I putting words in your mouth? Can you imagine one of those in your community? That's my point. I welcome you to come take a tour of it. You will walk away saying, you know what? I can see one of those. Yeah, wow, in Porter Ranch. I can see one of those in Northridge. We have one in Northridge, in Granada Hills. We got HGTV to come in and design it for us. I do things big, you know, I really care about these things in the details, as you can tell. I care about people. We got a problem. We got a big problem. We've door knocked it. Now here's what I'm willing to do. I will, because I represent you, not me. I represent you. I will ask the Department of Transportation to put signs up and say no overnight parking.
That's not what you do.
But I will only do so. I'm not looking for a dialogue here. Okay, I'm addressing the issue. If you have a question, just hold on 1 second. I will answer every question. Stay as long as you want. Because the dialogue is going to turn into debate, and we're really trying to solve a problem. Help the people, and clean up the area as well at the same time. It's very complicated. So I hear you. People are very frustrated over it, I get it. I will put up the no overnight parking as long as the condos across the street that park there and the HOA is okay with it. So I've instructed my staff to go ask them to take this up as a vote and have the HOA weigh in. Now I do that with you guys on everything. I do it with all the neighborhood councils. I do it with all the stakeholders. At the end of the day, that's what you elected me to represent your position on things. And I take that responsibility very seriously. I don't dictate. I don't come up with my own ideas. And I don't say tough. I say, look, I'm willing to work with you. I'm trying to bring now, he was here earlier, and he came for this item, but he left. Wade Trimmer, who runs the San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission, and has done a phenomenal job, and he was here earlier to speak on this. He's trying to work with me to find housing for these folks and bring them into the shelter as well. We're trying to help people, because I think that's also all of our responsibilities, and so we're trying to work through that. It's frustrating for everyone. The people living there, the people living here, the people that got to see it every day. Perhaps the crime it breeds, if that's the case. Certainly the trash and debris and other elements that it brings. These are major societal issues. And it's nothing compared to what's happening in the rest of the city right now with all the tents. The courts have ruled recently we cannot pick up their stuff from sidewalks. If they set up tents on sidewalks in Porter Ranch with a bed and a couch and a nightstand, we can't touch it. I don't know if you guys know that. The courts have said, and the judge had ruled, the city of Los Angeles is no longer allowed to pick up bulky items if it's personal belongings and people are utilizing them to live on the sidewalk. So if you go anywhere around, really outside of the Northwest Valley, although if you want to go towards freeway overpasses, we have families and children living on Balboa and the 405, Reseda and the 405. There's twin girls over in Chatsworth under the freeway, little girls living with their family in our community. It's gotten worse than ever. And you go other parts of the city and it's sad. Which is why I've worked and fought hard to build a homeless shelter in Northridge, and it's the largest in the San Fernando Valley. And I beg you all to just come take a tour of it, and it'll completely change your perspective. It's on Remit and Reseda Boulevard. Yes.
Those owners have additional cars. They're over stuff. We don't know about where are they dumping their gray water. They're not, many of them aren't moving at all. I mean, it's 3 feet, if anything, because parking enforcement is coming along. So we need something else. We drive in Encino, Sherman Oaks, Studio City. We see parking permit only. Alright? We see no RVs there. We see nothing like what we've got. We've got several situations. We've got 10 RVs, 10 on campus, practically one behind the other. It's an encampment. Alright? We have that. That's one issue. Then we have the few people that we've seen living in their vehicles, sleeping in their vehicles on campus. This is something new. With all their belongings strapped to the top. Your office calling them up to photograph, and I'm aware of a few things that you've done that you mentioned. But that's another situation. Those people for sure need the housing. And I've been told that many of them don't want it because it's restricted, there are rules. You know, all of this is like mind-boggling. However, we have 10 RVs and they're moving within one block.
Okay, so I think we're going back to the same in the circle.
More
So,
help.
yes, we do. And so a couple things. What we used to be able to do is, and by the way, well said, you framed all of it. I heard one solution presented, I'm going to address that in a minute, and that was PPDs, which is our preferential parking districts, is what you referred to, so I'll get back to that in a second. The one thing that was mentioned is they only move 3 feet. They're not required to move 3 feet. They're required to move an inch. And so it used to be, back in the day, and how we enforced in law enforcement, was you had to move your vehicle every 24 hours if you're cited after 72 hours of not moving it. So it's 72-hour rule, right? If you're parked on the city street. And it used to be we would look in the window and look at the mileage. And that's what we would do. And you had to move it 1 mile. The rule, I don't know if you guys remember that. It was a 1 mile rule. So every 72 hours you had to move your, well then, we got something called digital speedometers. We couldn't sight anymore. You'd look in the window and you couldn't see anything. And so we had to go back to chalking tires. So then under a lawsuit, it wasn't the city of LA, it was another city in the state of California that was sued and said you can't enforce the 1 mile rule anymore. The city lost and had to go back to chalking tires, which means it's no longer the 1 mile, it's now 1 inch. So you really don't have to move your vehicle. We ran into this in the unhitched trailer issue. If you remember, I worked very closely with you guys in getting rid of all the unhitched trailers along Rinaldi and Topanga. Now we get the vans, I know, okay. Having said that, PPDs are preferential parking districts. They're insanely expensive for the tenants. Nobody wants them once they start hearing about the process. And they've been trying to push to get those in around CSUN, because you can imagine the 45,000 kids or students that go to CSUN and park in the residential communities. It's a major impact. And they've been fighting for years for PPDs. And then when you go out to get the petition for PPDs and you hear how expensive it is for the homeowners and tenants, they're like, forget it, we'll deal with parking. Having said that, you will never see a PPD on a major thoroughfare either. So when you talk about Studio City or you talk about, you don't see a PPD on Ventura Boulevard. There's no PPDs on, they don't exist in the city of LA. They're on secondary residential streets only. And they aren't, and if anybody can point to the last PPD that was ever approved in the city of Los Angeles, I don't think it's been, it's got to be 10 years, 12, 15 years. They don't happen anymore because they're so expensive and the tenants aren't willing to pay for them. No RVs. Yes, we can put any sign, it's not enforceable, it's against the law. They're public streets, you can't restrict and say, well, we'll allow these kind of cars and not these kind of cars. You can't discriminate in what types of vehicles. Now, we can say trailers, but they're not trailers. So it's either no overnight parking, restricted hourly parking, metered parking, which we have none, by the way. We don't have a single parking meter in my district. Not one. Every parking spot in CD12 is free. We're one of the few districts that don't have any, and I'm not sure if there's another. Because the people here don't want to pay for parking on the streets, they're already paying taxes to park on. is what we've always heard. So,
What about by weight?
you can do it by weight, but it starts at like, the weight begins at like semi-type. I don't even remember the weight. Once you start enforcing a weight issue, it starts at like, those don't qualify, they still fall under. We've tried everything and working with DOT. Again, this is an area where the only thing we've found that works is the time limited parking, where it's either a 2-hour, 4-hour, no overnight, dusk to dawn. We've done all those things around parks. We've done it all. And all they do is when we do put it in, they move. Now, that's why I threw out the HOA, because you made a great point. You've got all these people with extra spots, and there's no way they're going to support it. You're right, which is why I said I will if they do, because I don't think they would. They will probably eventually, because they're just going to get so tired of it. I'd support if they're willing to support it. But you've got 420.
We have, well, it's a combination of 3
Right.
townhome complexes, and the total is about 450.
450. Okay. So you got 450 units, which is probably well over 1,000 people. And with that, there's no way they're going to probably support putting up maybe.
Every community in Port Ranch west of Tampa is gated, and I'm on the HOA of Tuscany and Fort Sill right down there.
Right.
Every month, people say, I have 3 cars, I can't walk around the street with kids towed. And we say, we're very sorry, you can't have 3 cars, we'll find another alternative to put them. And that's just the hard rule.
Well, I appreciate that, because I thought about that today. And I thought, what's the difference between Tuscany and our townhome association? These townhome associations are very strict about parking at night in these parking spots. It helps with security, and it would be like a tremendous thing if everybody started to park those 3rd and 4th vehicles there. So I don't know what people do. You've got to.
So, Dave, you got a question?
Yeah, I commented this at the last meeting, and I suggested that the homeowners association take a very strong look at their membership, because I know most townhomes, they have garages, and they use it for their storage, not for the cars. And I think if you really present something to the association where you tighten up your association rules, that they must park in a leasing car. I have units at the Promenade, they have parking restrictions, and I also live at the Renaissance. We're not even allowed to park in front of our.
So this goes back to the HOA and looking at the covenants and constrictions, the bylaws, and so forth that they park. So we've had an issue, just to share that as well. Rock Point. We had a big issue in Rock Point a couple years ago, where if you're familiar with Rock Point, which is down in West Hills, it's been there for 100 years, and they're required to park in the garages. Not a single one of their tenants, I won't say not a single one, 90% of the tenants didn't park in the garages. They were parking in the alleys at Rock Point. 30, 40 years later, LAPD's never driven by there to give anybody a sight. Well, guess what? An ambulance tried to come through. Couldn't fit through because the cars were all parked in the alleys, blocking access, which is why they broke the rules 35 years, 45 years ago to park in the garages, and nobody did. From the story I heard is the person, the ambulance couldn't get to them in time. And the police officers got really angry about it. And they started driving through there on a regular basis, citing every vehicle. We showed up to a meeting, and it was filled like a room like this. Them wanting to hang LAPD, the tenants, wanting to come after LAPD for enforcing laws that hadn't been enforced in 50 years. It was their fault, LAPD's fault, and my fault as a council member that we're now enforcing when we never have, yet one of their own died.